I'll just say right now, this could be a totally pointless special feature, but it's one of those things where I realized this is probably the last DVD I'll be able to talk about this because it does have some connection. But I was going through some of my really old artwork. I mean, stuff from like when I was an illustrator and just when I was a kid, because I used to do sort of comic books when I was a kid, just during class, of course, not learning in school. And something I came across looking at them again, what I realized is how much they actually do connect to what I've been doing with my online work. Like, for example, this was called The Infinite War. Actually, this is The Infinite War 2. And the premise of it was that they were looking for the first comic ever made, which was actually made in caveman times. It was made of stone. But here's the funny thing about it. And these are the covers to it. And the drawings were done by me, but my brother did the shading. In fact, he used to torture me. He used to say, if you don't do this, I won't shade your comics. But then he got too lazy, and he couldn't use that against me anymore. I also learned how to shade, but we digress. As you can see, he did some gray shading here. And like I said, these are just the covers. But here's the funny thing. The main character in this sort of looks like the Nostalgia Critic, doesn't it? And actually, that's me. I put myself in the comic, and I made myself this egotistical jerk who was always out for number one. He's very much like Cartman, actually. And what he did is that he led a group of other characters, and they were called the Fantastic Eight because they couldn't think of a more original title. And they were kind of like, sort of a mix between, like, I want to say sort of like the Tiny Toons and X-Men. So it was very, very cartoony, and they'd have these really greedy wars and battles and stuff like that. But the funny thing about it, again, for example, take a look at that. Now that's me as the general, but kind of looks like the M. Bison outfit, doesn't it, when he was commanding his team. So again, he commanded a team, and everybody hated him, but they followed him because, I don't know, they had nothing better to do, or maybe there was some sort of strange trust, I don't know. And again, it was after this object, this first comic ever made, which is very much like Suburban Nights, where they're all after one object. And here we have in the last part here, this takes place in space. And a lot of the jokes actually in To Boldly Flee, particularly in the climax, oh, that was the cover. See, that never got shaded. So, maybe I should have told. Maybe I should have been nice to Rob and have him keep shading him, but I digress. You have these comics, and these were done when I was like, I don't know, something like 13 or 14 or something like that, maybe even younger. And you see, you got the Doug character is just disgustingly unlikable, and he always shouts at his teammates. And he's going to run over this character, and the character smashes the tank. But again, the idea behind this is that going through these again, I realized just how much, like you'll see sort of in the last bit here, where they do go into space, and it's a lot of cartoony humor. And what I never realized looking over these again is how much of this still stuck with me, because so much of the humor in To Boldly Flee and Suburban Nights, even Kickassia, is very, very cartoony. If you sort of look at all this, you have ships flying through, you have people yelling and screaming and doing all this stuff, and it does sort of look like, To Boldly Flee, doesn't it? Just with all the ships, all the firing, all the screaming. For example, here's a joke where Doug is following this ship. He's following it, and then the ship leads him right into another ship, and they crash into each other. Zork and Krauser, the name of the navigators and stuff like that. And it's very much like when the house crashed into the Executor. Here you have another great example of that. We have this Independence Day style ship, and this guy's about to crash into it, but then he's beamed away, the villain beams back, but as you see, he gets closer and closer to the ship to where he can actually see a guy in the window, and he crashes into the ship, and then starts, running over people in the ship. And here's another scene, too, where Doug actually convinces everybody to come with him, to fight with him with the promise of free beer and money attached to his ship. So, as you can see, the character actually did have a basis sort of from my childhood, these characters that, I was doing for a while. So stuff like this actually, whenever you sort of think to yourself, don't, put away childish stuff, and childish things, it's like a lot of this stuff actually can come back and can actually serve you. So Yeah, I mean, that's basically the point of this video, is showing that how much of this, sort of the egotistical character, the leading of a team, the team that doesn't like him, the everybody sort of out for themselves kind of thing, and how cowardly they are. Here you got this woman going into the ship, and she just beats him out of the ship, and that's it. I mean, it didn't even put up a fight. So, yeah, like I said, I think the whole thing about this is just don't be afraid to look back at your old inspirations, or, always sort of keep them alive, because you never know. They might come back and they might really serve you in ways you never even thought possible. So, yeah, as you can see, this actually ends with the comic falling to the ground and getting destroyed. Actually, it's just split in half. They could probably still sell it. But, and Doug is angry. And then, I love to say, these two squirrels come. One squirrel is sad that, one squirrel has the other one, so he splits it in half. It's like, that's the happy ending. So, both my brother and I worked on these, and, yeah, like I said, it's just really good to sort of keep these, these things alive, because you never know when they're going to come back again. So, just keep putting stuff out there and see what sticks. So, that's about it. This could have been totally pointless, but maybe you wanted to see some of my artwork when I was, between 12 and 14 years old. So, that's about it, and I'll talk to you later.